Hey guys, so yesterday y'all learned to measure with items like paper clips or Legos or whatever. Today we are actually going to learn about measuring with inches. So if you have a ruler, that is great, and I'll kind of go over how to use that in a second, and I'll kind of show you on this one too. So if we were in the classroom, we would kind of go around finding things that are 1 inch, about a paper clip, about 12 inches, close to like your big reading textbook, 6 inches, kind of close to, I think, y'all's markers, things like that. So I think we might have a measuring scavenger hunt on Zoom if I can get that to work. So you can kind of start measuring some items around your house so you have an idea. If you have a ruler, you can always Google and print a ruler if you don't have one also. All right, so when measuring with a ruler, so you want to figure out first what you're measuring with. I know this is kind of hard to see, but this pink one is the only one I had. So right here it says inches. On the other side it says centimeters, which we are not learning about today, so I'm going to ignore that side. So if you notice this big line right there, that is where you start measuring. You actually don't start at the edge of the ruler because there's kind of a little extra space. So I'm just going to kind of show you a couple items and measuring them and how to do it, and kind of go through the packet a little. I know you don't have it, and that's okay. So I line up my beginning. I know it's hard to see from y'all's angle, but I promise it's there. It's slightly after 5. So it would be about 5 inches. We're kind of just estimating. Oh, sorry, there you can see. Okay, so it's about 5 inches. The halfway point between is the one that's the kind of biggest in the middle. So that would be the halfway point. So it's not 5.5, and you wouldn't say it's closer to 6 unless it's past the halfway point. So my highlighter right here is about 5 inches. Let's go to some sticky notes. So my sticky note pad is exactly 3 inches. So I lines it up there. I lines it up there. That's 3 inches. I have an envelope right here that I can measure. All right, so I can measure the length of it, line it up there, down there. And this envelope is slightly past the halfway mark, but if you can tell, it's right here. This one is closer to 6 than it is to 5, so it would be 6 inches. And then if I want to measure it this way, 4.5 is right there, so it's not quite to 4.5, so this one will be closer to 4 inches than 5 inches. So kind of measure. Inches are about a small paper clip, like we said the other day. It's not exact, but it's close to a small paper clip. You don't want a big paper clip though, because those are kind of closer to 2 inches. So if you want to practice measuring some things around your house, I'm going to kind of go through the inside real fast just to kind of show you and go through anything important. So this just has estimating and measuring some things. And here's kind of some words at the top. So it says you can measure the length, width, and height of an object in inches. So the length is how long something is. The height is like how tall something is. And then the width is kind of how wide it is. So there's kind of different measurements. Like think of a piece of furniture. If you have a table, you would measure how high it is off the ground, which would be its height. You would measure the long side for its length, and then you would measure the shorter side for its width. Okay, so it says always start with the left side of the ruler. So I kind of didn't show you earlier, but you don't want to start on this side because then it would be counting backwards 12, 11, 10, 9. So we don't want to use that side. So we are just measuring to the nearest inch. So we are going to ignore kind of all those little itty lines in there, and you'll learn about that in a later grade. So here's an example of an eraser. So if you need to draw a line, you can. That is 1.5 inches right there. So you can see it's past the halfway point. So this eraser is closer to 2. All right, and then over here we have an acorn. And this acorn is not to the halfway point, so this acorn is closer to 1. So these items, a lot of items are not going to be exact. So my sticky note was exact just because that's the size you buy them in, 3 inch by 3 inch. But a lot of ordinary items, they wouldn't measure exactly. So if you want some ideas of some things to measure, it says paintbrushes, the height of a cup, crayons, juice boxes, pencil cases, your backpack. You can always estimate first, like we talked about yesterday. So we'll kind of go through this and then we'll be done for today and you can do your IXL. So it says Pam and Jose eat cherries. Pam says that each cherry is about 1 inch wide. Jose says each cherry is about 6 inches wide. Who is correct? So I'm going to kind of show you what the measurement is. So 1 inch would be from this line to here. Okay, so not very big. 6 inches would be from that finger to that finger. So almost a good bit of the paper for 6 inches. So I'll kind of draw a line so you can see. So this is 6 inches, and this is 1 inch. And if you've ever seen a cherry before, cherries are pretty small, so a cherry would be 1 inch, so Pam would be correct. The next one says you bought a stamp, and Yona bought a stamp. She measured it with a ruler, which shows how long Yona's stamp is. So this is kind of how your quiz will be in your IXL. It'll have the item next to ruler. Obviously, this one is only 1 inch. So that kind of covers measuring with a ruler for inches, and we'll kind of go through different ways to measure throughout the week with centimeters and feet and yards and all different things over the next couple weeks. But today we're just measuring with inches, which is about the size of a small paperclip.